I charge my husband for my stay-at-home mom services. Now, my husband gets paid tomorrow, so that means that he will pay me out tomorrow as well.
I make about $200,000 a year as a registered nurse. Here's how much I made and spent in the month of September as a high school teacher living in Fort Worth, Texas.
Have you noticed more and more people online are posting exactly how much they make, from tech jobs to retail and even OnlyFans? It's part of a growing trend called salary transparency, and it's changing the way we talk about money. But is it actually helping us close the wage gap, or just fueling comparison and drama? Today, we're breaking down why people are sharing their paychecks, who it's really helping, and the pushback it's getting, especially from employers. Now, if you guys are as transparent as these people are, then definitely make sure to drop a comment with what you do down below. Otherwise, let's get right into today's episode.
It's payday today, so let's budget my paycheck. I make $75,000 a year, and after taxes and deductions, my bi-weekly paycheck comes out to be $2,155. This week was extremely depressing because my credit card bill came in at $2,400. At this point, I started disassociating and thinking about all my poor life choices that led me to this moment. I took some money out of my savings and paid my credit card and the rest of my bills, and then I made a solemn vow to never ever eat out again, and also to never leave my house again because I clearly can't control myself. So now I have negative dollars for the next 2 weeks. I'll see you then. Bye.
Negative couple $100 for the next 2 weeks is kind of interesting. What is your guys' credit card bills? Like at the end of the month, what is your statement? Is it $1,000, $2,000, $3,000? I'm really curious. That's a really good question. I think for me, it's probably closer to I'd say on average, maybe $1,000, unless I am going crazy or I need to purchase something for, the YouTube business. But for the most part, I can very easily set, at least on the personal side of my life, like $1,000 max is probably what I spend a month. And that is covering everything except for rent and utilities. Those are different. Those I do direct deposit because, of course, the utter BS that I'm about to tell you. If you, and I'm curious if this affects you guys too, if you pay for your rent at a apartment complex with your credit card, they charge you a massive fee. I think over $100 or at least $60 to $80 every single month for a convenience fee for using your stupid credit card. So specifically for me, I do direct deposit from my bank account, or I write them a check and I hand them a check at the desk, because otherwise you're just pissing money away on stupid things. It is upsetting that she has to dip into her savings account though. $2,000 every 2 weeks, maybe $2,155. I think it was every 2 weeks, a little over $4,000 a month. Why you'd need to dip into your savings account to pay off your bills is a little interesting. Maybe what she's doing is the first paycheck that comes in, she's putting into her savings. And then when it comes time for the second paycheck, it doesn't cover all her bills for that end of the month. This is what I'm hoping. And then she's got to withdraw some of it from her savings. But part of me thinks that's not what's going on here, that her credit card is covering all of her unnecessary expenditures and some necessary ones. So some luxuries and some unnecessary stuff. And then rent and all that is extra, those bills. So she keeps having to dip into the savings. Not good. Anywho, I wanted to read a couple of the comments that were left on that TikTok video because I do find them quite interesting. The first one says, was that a budgeting spreadsheet? Help a girl out. LOL. It's funny. The ironic thing here is even with her budgeting spreadsheet, she's had to dip into her savings account. So apparently it's not working all that well. Although I do highly agree, people that budget and have either budgeting spreadsheets or however it is you decide to budget will significantly save more money and know where their money is going compared to people that don't. I would say the overwhelming majority. You're better than me because I would have put the minimum payment on the credit card and lived my life. Oh my gosh. Apparently that's what a lot of people do. And if you haven't seen my video on credit card debt insanity, I highly recommend you check that video out because we talk about people that do this. A lot of people refuse to pay their credit card statement off in full at the end of the month, which is terrible, not only for interest, but for your credit score, and will just pay the minimum. It's not good. This is how people get into tremendous amounts of trouble and debt. This one's hysterical. $70K is the new $35K. And unfortunately, I'd say salaries after 2020, it's true. The amount of inflation that we have had since 2020 compared to what salaries are, the small raise that people are getting, if any, it doesn't compete. So yeah, 70K has the same buying power as like 35K from prior to 2020. It's insane. This was so real. Thank you for the transparency. Cries in 4K credit card debt.
Hi everyone, my name is Jayla McCoy and I am a 23-year-old mechanical engineer right out of college, making 6 figures at ExxonMobil as a reliability engineer.
Wow.
And I just want to come on today to say God is good all day long. I graduated with 6 full-time job offers at top Fortune 50 companies.
Wow.
I started on ExxonMobil, one of the top oil and gas companies in the world, moved to Louisiana from Cleveland, and I went to school at the University of Kentucky. Just graduated in December, spent those 3 months, de-stressing from the hard life of undergraduate school. I majored in mechanical engineering with a minor in computer science. Definitely there's a lot of job security in engineering, in my opinion. Some people may tell you differently, but I just got off work. The weather's good. Life is good. I get paid soon. Everything's great. So keep working. To all those engineers out there, it gets better after undergrad.
I wish it was that easy. I wish for everyone that went to college, it was that easy, because it's not. Unfortunately, it never seems to work out that way. The 1% of people that are going to school actually end up with it coming out like come out of college like that, and it sucks. I'd say for the overwhelming majority of people, it never ends up like that. They go for a major that is either heavily saturated, unimportant, or not worth it at all. Come out of college, spend several months looking for a job, applying for jobs, do not get them. And then when they finally land a job, it's a job that is not in their, career path, if that makes sense. Like it's not for the degree that they went for. And then it's paying $35,000 in 2025. I'd say that's how most people, have been dealing with this whole college shenanigans stuff over the past couple of years. Now, good for her, though. I mean, that's awesome. And I wish it was like that. I really, really, really do for a lot of people. I do think mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, all sorts of engineering degrees, it's going to be around, as all technology and everything like that needs to be worked on and needs to be figured out and engineered. You know what I'm saying? They needs to be created. So I think there is a very big job demand for that, a big market demand for engineers. And it's not an easy career to go into, but engineering, attorneys, doctors, if you can outweigh the pros and cons of, student loans, it's a really good career path, especially if you do it the smart way. Like if you can get grants and, scholarships and things like that to help reduce the burden of student loans, or you go to a SUNY or a state school and not a private school. There's certainly ways to, reduce your expenses and come out ahead at the end of it. Anywho, I wanted to read a couple comments that you guys had left on previous episodes on the channel. If you guys want to get featured in the next episode, definitely make sure to drop a comment as well. But this comment says, as I always tell people who are envious about others' higher salaries per month, your salary does not always mean anything, but it is what you actually have left to use or save after mortgage, loans, mandatory bills, etc. are paid off. I mean, I love this comment so much. We talk about this in almost every episode where we divulge and discuss finances and savings and debt and things like that. There's a quote that I've heard time and time again, and I'll say it again for those that are new to the channel. There are people out there that can make $40,000 a year and can save $15,000 to $20,000, almost half their salary every single year. And then on the flip side, there are people that make $150,000, $200,000 a year and still live paycheck to paycheck, or even worse, are in debt and can't afford their bills. So it is 100% a mindset, and you can't always judge a book by its cover. I have, met many people and know of many people that have 6-figure salaries that are just barely scraping by because they have lifestyle creep and because they have so many freaking unnecessary luxuries and expenses that it don't matter. If you can't fix the holes in your pockets, no matter how much money you're going to get, it don't matter because it's going to keep falling out at the other end here. So I really do love this.
I got my first paycheck as a doctor,
What does it say? She's Department of Surgery, I think. I think she's a surgeon. Very cool.
I've been looking forward to this day for forever because I literally have not made a cent in the last 4+ years.
Wow.
Anywho, I feel like I'm rolling in the dough since I got my first paycheck. And I'm already planning my shopping spree. I've already been online shopping, but then I had to check myself because it's not as much dough as I was expecting. I'm only getting paid, it was only a couple $100, and my hourly rate broken down was like $14 an hour. So yeah, I will not be going on a shopping spree.
Wait a second. In what world is a doctor or a nurse or anyone working in a hospital making $14 an hour? With the amount of schooling that you would need? Oh, it pisses me off. Maybe she's in residency or something. That's probably, I'm hoping that's what it is. And even then, that's pretty crazy if you ask me. Residency is what you do like after you get your master's degree or something, or undergraduates, and then you have to go for several years to learn. And they don't pay you, learn, hands-on physics like in the hospital, and they don't pay you that much at all, which boggles my mind how anyone could live or make a living without going into tremendous amounts of debt to afford that. But hey, it's apparently this twisted world that we're in. If any of you guys are doctors or nurses out there, let me know your thoughts. Do nurses have to do residency as well? Not to mention what she said about the urge to go spending and shopping. I get it. And honestly, if you do manage to land a job after college, definitely reward yourself. Don't deprive yourself from, the good things that come in life just for savings. Don't be the Scrooge, as they'd say, during Christmas. I've learned about that. But you can certainly treat yourself. Just don't go overboard. Not everyone is in debt. There are people with good lives with an average salary. I think I'm trying to translate that. Not many, though. That is very true. Me and my wife have paid off a house, which is awesome. Even cars, which is only 4 years old, popular SUV. We are 33 years old with basic salaries. We are frugal on most stuff. Just buy less stuff and you'll be fine. Very true. Live below your means. Invest in funds to grow your money. Very true. Money you don't need must be invested, and it must be saved. Good videos. I like to see new trends and crazy people from this. From the U.S. Oh my gosh. It feels like what you guys do and have will come to Europe soon too. Yeah, this consumerism world, we've made videos on it in the past, and I'm going to be making one later on this week. That should be the next episode that you guys see. Is consumerism is absolutely out of control this year. It really, really, really is. It's not slowing down at all. And some people are even thinking that this could be recession indicators, which is also a very interesting topic we're going to have to go over here. But he certainly has the right way of thinking. And I think everywhere like outside of the US is a heck of a lot more frugal, and first generation people that move to the US see how insane it is, and they keep their frugality with them. Unfortunately, though, when they have kids who grow up in American culture, consumerism typically takes over that second generation, and a lot of first generation millionaires, that's kind of where it ends. Second generation, the offspring, don't really become millionaires and actually become, in crippling debt and are very dependent on their parents to help them afford things. This was discussed in The Millionaire Next Door, which is an amazing book that I highly recommend if you haven't read that one already.
I make about $200,000 a year as a registered nurse.
Whoa.
Let's talk about a topic that a lot of people are uncomfortable talking about. Salaries. Hi, my name is Louie. I have been a nurse for about 6 years, 2 of those years being a travel nurse. I want to preface this video by saying that this is not meant for me to humble brag, but rather to educate nurses, new grads, nursing students about the earning potential of a registered nurse, and how being loyal to one hospital for years and years isn't necessarily a good thing and can cost you a lot of missed opportunities.
I wonder the legality here in disclosing your salaries online, out in public, how your employer would feel about that. You know what I'm saying? Especially in maybe smaller companies or even in larger ones, because at some point or another, other employees are going to see this and probably get pretty pissed if you're making more than them. I'm really curious about the legality part. Now, she did bring up a massive point, a huge point. I think in today's market, there's no more kind of job loyalty on either end, at least from the corporate side. They don't care about you. As far as I have understood and I have seen with my own eyes and witnessed, they do not care at all. I've seen it with my fiance's jobs, how they treat employees. I've seen it with colleagues, coworkers, just on the internet. They don't care, which means you have to pay more attention to yourself. They're going to pay you just enough so you don't quit, and you need to work just enough so that you don't get fired. That is it. Do not go overboard. Do not go in expecting to get a raise by taking on more work without asking first. Terrible decisions. What I have noticed is job hopping is more beneficial to increasing your salaries. Just like the first negotiation on a house or a car, that's the biggest savings. So for you guys looking for jobs, what I am saying is don't get too comfortable at the job you're at if you're not satisfied with the salaries. Your biggest salary jump is the first time of negotiation, the first time you decide to apply for that job. Don't expect big jumps in raises once you're already hired.
So I'm going to share with you guys my salary journey from when I was a new grad till now. I started in a small community hospital in Southern California as a new grad in 2017, and I made about $37 per hour, which equated to about $69,264 per year. I stayed with that same hospital for about 3 years until 2020, and the highest hourly rate that I attained there was about $45 per hour, which was about $84,240 per year, not including any overtime that I worked. When the pandemic happened in 2020, there was such a huge demand for nurses all across the country that you would see all these travel assignments offering $5 to $10K a week popping up
$10,000 a week? Sign me up.
everywhere. So for me, it didn't make sense to stay at my current job where I was getting paid so little when I can go somewhere else doing the same thing and get paid so much more. So then I decided to take a leap of faith in July of 2020, quit my job and become a full-time travel nurse. I flew to Texas to work as a crisis COVID nurse for a couple of months, and there I made about $10,000 a week. But I worked almost every single day. And then in January 2021, I decided to stop working every day, go back to California, and take on more traditional travel nursing assignments in LA and in the Bay Area. I worked in a level 1 trauma center in LA for about 6 months as a float pool ICU nurse, where I made about $4,424 per week. $1,736 of that was untaxed because of housing and meal stipends. And after that assignment in LA, I took a couple months off to just spend time with my family and get some rest. And in September of 2021, I decided to take another travel assignment in the Bay Area. And at this hospital, the most that I made was $8,777 per week, working 48 hours a week.
Almost $9,000 a week, 9, 18, 27, $36,000 a month is unreal money. Oh my gosh.
I stopped being a travel nurse after working at that hospital for a year, took a month off, and then decided to take a permanent staff position at that same hospital. You're probably thinking, why did you go from a travel nurse to being a permanent staff again when you were making so much money as a travel nurse? Well, because I have 3 really good reasons. 1, I fell in love with this hospital because they just had so many resources. 2, I met the love of my life here in the Bay Area, so I kind of had to stay here. And 3, travel nursing rates were already coming down drastically at that time, so I figured, why not just get a more stable job? Ever since I accepted that permanent staff position at that hospital, my wage already increased 7%, thanks to our union. So for full pay transparency, I currently make $95.61 per hour as my base, plus an 18% differential of $17.21 per hour because I'm a night shift nurse. So that puts me at about $112.82 per hour. So when you multiply that by 36 hours per week times 52 weeks in a year, that equates to about $211,199 per year, not including any overtime, weekend differentials, charge nurse differentials, or any bonuses or educational pay that I get every year. As you can see, there are so many opportunities out there to increase your earning potential as a nurse. And if I had stayed at the same hospital where I started working at as a new grad, I wouldn't be making the same salary as I do now. And also, you don't have to be a travel nurse to be making a 6-figure salary. There are staff nurse positions out there that can pay you just as much.
All right, so I have 2 points, but before we discuss that, I mean, she's entirely right. When it comes, what I have learned, at least for the vast majority of career choices here, job hopping is very vital, at least in the early years of your career after college. That is the best way to really start to, climb the ladder and get a much higher salary much quicker than sticking with one job, unless you're already there. So that's a big point. Now, the 2 things I want to discuss with you is, for starters, the cost of living in certain areas certainly plays a big role. She's in the Bay Area in California. That's a big one. And 2, I didn't know she's working the night shift, the graveyard shift. It's called the graveyard shift for a reason. And that's because working at night absolutely sucks. For most people, there have been plenty of studies that shows that working at night can shave 10 to 20 years off your life because it messes up your whole circadian rhythm and how you sleep. It's not normal. Humans are not nocturnal beings. We are not awake during the night and asleep during the day. So it is a huge, and I know we need it. We need people to work at night, but it is a huge trade-off. And I don't know if it's worth it. Some people might disagree. Some people might agree. I don't know if even $200K is worth it to be staying up at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the morning and then going home at 10 o'clock and going to sleep. Or 6 o'clock and going to sleep. I know people who do this, and it really takes a toll on you. It really, really, really does. Now, going back to my other point, the cost of living. This is interesting. Here in $200K, when you work as a employee on a W-2, we've talked about this in my previous video on how shopping addictions and spending addictions really destroy your savings. We discuss the taxes side of things here, and it's a video you guys should definitely watch, how if you are a W-2 employee, you pay a lot of taxes. Self-employed can pay even more, and then when you set up an LLC, you can pay less. But what I mean by that is California has huge state taxes plus huge federal taxes. So ideally, a $200,000 salary, although it is good in California, might be the same equivalent as a $100,000 salary anywhere else. There is certainly a very large trade-off, a very, very, very large trade-off for both of those two reasons. Soon as she said California, I understood this would not apply to me. LOL. The Bay Area is one of the best, if not the best place to get paid as a staff nurse. California is pretty nice in certain areas. I will give it that. I mean, just the fact that they have the mountains, beautiful weather, the ocean. Aside from the earthquakes, it's pretty nice. Me watching the entire video with no intention of being a nurse. LOL.
This is everything I charge my husband for my stay-at-home mom services. I wrote it all down so I can go.
Is that what this world has come to? We are now charging our husbands and wives if we are a stay-at-home dad and a stay-at-home mom? This is unreal.
I hadn't explained. My husband gets paid tomorrow, so that means that he will pay me out tomorrow as well. I charge him $20 per load of dishes that I do. I usually do that about 2 to 3 times a day, 5 days a week. That's about $300 a week. I charge $35 per load of laundry. I do laundry about 4 times a week, that being about $140. $60 per bathroom per clean, and I usually do that about 2 times a week. I kind of go in and do a deep clean. That ends up being about $240 a week. I charge $100 to clean all of the floors. That includes sweeping, the mopping, and that includes every bedroom. So I don't think that's bad. I do that about 2 to 3 times a week, so we say about $300 a week. I homeschool the kids, so I charge him $400 tuition each kid each week. So that's $800 a week for the kids, $50 for my car shuttle services because I take the kids to art class, to gymnastics, to baseball, soccer. That is $150 a week. $75 for my grocery shopping fee. Does not include the groceries or the tip. But I only do that once a week, so that's not bad. Let's see. $50 for my personal chef services. That is about 10 times a week because he makes breakfast, so I make lunch and dinner every day. That ends up being $500 a week for me. That's from Monday to Friday because I don't work on Saturdays or Sundays. I charge him $200 a week for my breastfeeding fee because I still breastfeed the baby. I also charge a $10 daily sweeping fee of the house to kind of just upkeep it.
This is unreal.
5 times a week, and that ends up being about $50. So the total that I charge my husband every week for all of my stay-at-home services is about $2,700. If he wants to save money, he can help me do any of these tasks, and he can save money. It doesn't leave much for him at the end of the month.
No, it doesn't.
But it does give me enough to pay my mortgage. It gives me enough to pay the car payment, car insurance, water, electric, groceries, stuff like that that I need to get taken care of. So ultimately, it does kind of make me the breadwinner in my household.
This is unreal. I mean, coming from a frugal mindset, there's a lot of ways we can knock that bill down. But $2,700, honestly, is that bad? I am not sure, because I do know the trade-off to that is you have to now go to work, but now you have to pay for daycare. And daycare is very, 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 very expensive. It could be even it can't be $2,700. I'm sure there are some. Probably $2,700 a month, which is insane. But then if you add up all the other things that daycare doesn't cover, you're probably pretty close to that. So that's tough. I know this is satire, but it really does change a perspective on how much stay-at-home moms contribute to the welfare of the family and home. Hey, let's not forget about stay-at-home dads. And I totally agree. It is 100% a full-time job being a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad. It is a huge trade-off, taking care of the household, getting everything ready. But there are other responsibilities that you have to also be doing at the same time. You know, grocery shopping, taking care of the kids. She's even doing homeschooling. So, I don't know how to put a price on all that. She did. What do you guys think is a respectable number if we were to put a salary on a stay-at-home parent? Is it 40 grand, 60 grand, 80 grand? Then we have to put in the cost of, living depending on where you are. So who knows? I died when you said that he could save money by helping out. Know your worth, then add tax. Oh my gosh.
Here's how much I made and spent in the month of September as a high school teacher living in Fort Worth, Texas. It's been a while since I've done my teacher paycheck or salary transparent videos, but I'm back in the classroom, so I'm bringing this series back. Before we get into the video, here are my stats. I'm a 7th year teacher here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I also have a master's degree, and I also do have 3 stipends on top of my salary this year for doing PLC lead and for doing some coaching. We'll start off with what I spent first before what I made, but we'll start with my needs spending. So $55.54 on Wi-Fi. Okay. My rent is $1706.28.
I'm waiting to hear the luxuries that she's going to call necessities. But so far, those are 2 justifiable expenses that are necessities. Let's keep going on these needs spending.
Includes like parking and other building fees and all of that. My car payment is $605.74.
Okay, so here we go again. Not a need spending. That is absolutely atrocious. It's horrible. It's revolting. It makes me sick to my stomach that somebody is paying $600 a month for a car. You don't need a brand new car, and there are plenty of cars out there that will get you from A to B that aren't $600 a month. We've made videos on this car payment insanity nonsense that people are so brainwashed in today's society to need to have a brand new car and pay out the cahoot a month for these cars. That is a massive chunk of change. And if you reduce that, you'd free up so much of your income. Oh my gosh, that's not even including insurance.
Issue energy bill is $67.58. My renter's insurance was $23 a month. Paid $80 in tolls, which is kind of crazy. I took the express road on I-35 one too many times in September. I did pay my credit card bill late, so that was a $30 late fee. My gym membership is $180. I do
paying the credit card bill late. They give you a month to pay off the statement after it posts. And why? And CrossFit is not a need. $180 a month. There are so many gyms for a fraction of that price. Guys, you guys need to understand what the difference between needs are, necessities, and luxuries. Again, reflecting back to my video that we talked about how you guys have a spending addiction. Watch that video so you can understand the difference between the two. This is insane. Not a need spend.
CrossFit, I consider this a need for my mental and physical health. CrossFit is my favorite, so I'm not going to compromise on that. Oh my gosh. I spent $523.73 on groceries, and then I spent $120.32 on gas. So my needs spending for the month of September came out to $3,391.
Low key, for one person, I do think $500 a month on groceries is very expensive. Where are you shopping? Whole Foods? I bet I could shave maybe $200 off that, and I'm a big guy. I'm not a girl.
And 19 cents. Next category is subscriptions. So I have several. I pay for Hulu, that is $7.99 a month. Spotify, which is $12.98 a month. Apple, I don't really know what this is. It might be storage for my phone, but it's $9.99.
Whoa.
I have an Aura Ring with the Natural Cycles subscription. So my Aura Ring is $6.52 and Natural Cycles is $13.
This is ridiculous.
And then I also have HBO Max, which is also $9.99. It's my total subscription spending to $60.46. Next category is my want spending. I'm just going to give you the total and then kind of say like where I spent my money this month. But my wants spending was $907.62. So this is a combination of like shopping for myself and for others. I did buy my sister a birthday gift this month. This is experiences. I went to Grape Fest in downtown Grapevine. I took 2 Ubers. I bought my cheerleaders donuts. Went to Target a couple times. And then this also includes dining out. And so of that $900, $368.44 was on dining out. And lastly, we're going to do...
That's her grocery bill. How does one person spend over $300 a month on going out to eat? I can't I can't fathom. She must have no money as a teacher. What's left over? This is absolutely. It pisses me off. I know you guys are going to attack me in the comments, but this is so much unnecessary spending. See, me as a crazy person, I'm a crazy frugal person. If I have any sort of debt, that's my focus. I'm not going out to eat. I'm not going to festivals. I'm not living life until I pay off what I owe other people. I don't like to be in debt to other people. This is crazy.
What I earned as a teacher, my work paycheck, this is after my savings and insurance and everything gets taken out. So before my paycheck even hits my bank, my savings and everything comes out. So this is after all of that. So I took home $4,566.79 just on teaching. Of course, that includes my stipends as well. Then doing TikTok, also I'm very fortunate, does give me a little bit of side money. So I made $500 off of brand deal number 1. I made $750 off of brand deal number 2. I made $389.05 just from the TikTok Creativity Fund, which is views. And then I made $196.32 on my Teachers Pay Teachers store. And that's just from one item, which is my basic calendar. My total income for the month of September was $6,402.16. We'll go back to the total. So we'll make what I earned, which was $6,402.16, minus my needs spending, which was $3,391.90.
Which we know are not needs. Sorry to cut her off.
Cents, minus my subscription total, which was $60.46, minus my wants spending, which was $907.62. You subtract all that left me with $2,042.89 left over at the end of September. I love doing these to hold myself accountable, and I'd love to hear, if you're a teacher, where are you located, how many years of experience do you have, and approximately how much do you make per year?
All right. That's a nice chunk of change to have left over. Don't get me wrong. And honestly, go spend your money how you want if you're out of debt. We don't know about her student loans. Apparently, she doesn't have those bills. That's awesome. And some of those other things are just luxuries. And again, if she's got that much left over, that's cool. If you're hitting every other step and you have no debt and you have an emergency fund, go spend your money how you want. I don't care. You know, if you're already hitting your savings goals and your retirement goals, go for it. But the fact that she has a car payment, I don't like that. I would pay that off immediately. And then with the leftover cash, go for it. Get your CrossFit gym. You get 2 CrossFit memberships. I don't care. The part that kind of gets me a little nervous is the fact that she is including her TikTok money as part of her overall income. And that's okay to do so. But you got to understand, and I feel like this is going to go right over her head, or at least for most people, we've talked about this as well. People don't realize when you get payouts from TikTok and stuff like that as 1099s, they are not taking taxes out, which means you have to pay the taxes out. So on the $1,500 per se that she made from TikTok overall, she needs to put aside about $500 of that because she's going to owe it in taxes at the end of the year. And if she doesn't, and as she has quite a spending, you know, she likes to spend money, which is nothing wrong with that. If she spends all the money that she made from TikTok, she's going to have a very large bill that and probably have to go on a payment plan with the IRS at the end of the year, and it's going to be a big surprise. So you got to be very careful when it comes to making money like that. Now, she should start an LLC. She should start considering write-offs. Those could help. But yeah, you got to be a little careful with things like that. And I didn't hear her say that. Missouri teacher here, 14 years with a master's. I make $49,000. Yeah, teachers do not get paid as much as they should. Yeah, look. People are talking about the same freaking thing that I said here. What's scary is if she only did teaching, she would only have $300 left over. Side gigs help a lot. Social media is saving me. I mean, great. Like, yeah, teaching does not pay great at all. But as they said, majority of that money left over was from her social media. And as long as she keeps it, she's covered. If not, she's going to be in a lot of trouble. I love this part where somebody says $180 on CrossFit. Planet Fitness is $10. That's what I am saying. You could probably create your own CrossFit workout and save, $170 a month.
Here's how much money I made in my last paycheck as a resident doctor. I'm currently rotating through the ICU right now, and I am working on average, if you include sign out, 12 and a half hours per day. And since I'm on an elective rotation, I'm luckily only working 5 days per week. So for my last paycheck, luckily only working 5 days per week.
That's pretty standard, my guy. That's tough.
Actually worked about 125 hours if you assume that I got out on time after sign out and didn't have to stay to finish up any charting or anything. So after taxes, my last paycheck was $1,942.77. That comes out to about $15.54 per hour. Again, this is after taxes. I did not calculate before taxes, but at least gives you guys a,
let's say $20, $22 before taxes,
idea of what it would look like hourly if you were to break down my paycheck. Big thing to remember is that residents do not get paid overtime, so any of my hours over 40 for any of these weeks is not getting any sort of pay differential. Don't get paid a differential if I'm working nights, and if there's work that still needs to be done, we don't leave. If things happen with our patients, we don't leave. There is no clocking out. You don't clock out for lunch breaks. Let me know what you guys think about resident pay.
It's terrible. Meet husband after residency. Got it. How is this legal? We were just talking about this earlier in the video here, that if you do residency, people do not get paid anything, and you just have to stack up debt. It's insane. Oh, so that's why Meredith had hella roommates. Grey's Anatomy reference. Yep. Extremely underpaid. Totally agree. Anyways, guys, that's going to wrap up today's episode. If you have an opinion on some of this stuff, I'd love to hear about it down in the comment section below. And if you want to be as transparent or, keep yourself anonymous, but just drop what it is, what your occupation is down below, as well as the salary that you get paid yearly, and maybe where you are too. I feel like that's kind of important. Definitely feel free to share, and I'll try to comment or at least read as many as I can. You guys have been killing it with the comments, and I have had such a hard time keeping up with it. We're getting like 500 to over 1,000 comments a video. I'm only one person, and I am trying so freaking hard to keep up with it. I don't know how. I really don't. I want to keep it as genuine as I can. I want to keep commenting and responding to you guys and engaging with you guys like I did when my channel was smaller. But we're about to hit 50,000 subscribers, which means we're going to be doing another giveaway. And yeah, I have to figure. It's a good problem to have, but I have to figure it out. Anywho, definitely make sure to smash the like button, turn on post notifications, subscribe, and if you haven't seen my spending or shopping insanity episode that you guys are addicted to shopping, definitely make sure to check it out right after this. Peace.